But when you fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. What Jesus says in the Sermon of the Mount concerning people who are making all kinds of discomforting faces and all kinds of facial expressions so that they appear to people that they are fasting, to look good, to feel good about themselves. Because it was never about God, it's just about doing something to get attention just for that little moment. And it's very important to know that there are a lot of people that do good things but for the wrong reasons. According to the Father, it doesn't count as a good deed if you're still doing it for the wrong reasons. Fasting is the denial of the flesh by rejecting, temporarily halting all means of gratification concerning what you're fasting over. So that means if you're fasting from food, then you're refraining from eating from that particular moment as a means of emptying yourself to receive God's gratification. That even the gratification of food can't limit you to emptying yourself perpetually for the Father. And again, a very important thing to consider, there is nothing evil about food, there's nothing evil about beverages, there's nothing evil about eating or drinking. God specifically designed for those things to be enjoyable and to be necessities. But the point of fasting is emptying yourself of gratification to normalize a reconnection with God perpetually. And when you're fasting, Jesus says, not if, when you're fasting, it's you intertwining with God, emptying yourself whole. Because there's another important thing to consider here. When Jesus was with his disciples, people often asked why his disciples never fasted. Because Jesus is God and because God was there. So if God was there, there is no disconnection of gratification because he was actually there. But then Jesus says that when he leaves, using the analogy of the bridegroom in the bride chamber, when he leaves, then it will be a meet for them to fast. Because we fast to restore a perpetual connection with God for refinement in our spirits. And in moments when God is physically actually there, it's not it's not necessarily a requirement to fast because we're fasting to realign our gratification to God. So in that sense, it's important to understand that many people know what fasting is, but they don't know the reality of why fasting is actually necessary, why prayer and fasting are actually necessary. It's not just about temporarily starving yourself to feel good about others looking at you because you're doing something that's righteous or seemingly righteous or doing something righteous as an excuse to use that to gain the ulterior motive of getting temporary validation for the moment. And Jesus says, verily I say unto you, they have received their reward. Meaning that's all they're going to get for the things that they're doing. Meaning they were never doing it for God, they were doing it for people. So if they wanted attention from the people, they have gotten it. But they were not doing it for God, they were doing it for people. So if they were doing it to get attention, verily I say unto you, they have received their reward. Is they have received their reward is Jesus saying, since they are doing it for people and for validation, they have what they got for, but that's all they're going to get. Meaning, from the Father, because they're not genuinely doing it for God, they ought not to expect anything from Him because they're not doing anything with a sincere heart. And in this too, Jesus specifically specifies that fasting is between you and the Father. Not that it's a sin if other people know if you're fasting, but if you're using other people's knowledge of you fasting as a means to look good, to feel good about yourself, in a sense that you want people to look at you and to see how righteous and how good you are and how good you're doing, it's not necessarily good because you're not setting a genuine example in the sense that it's between you and the Father. Because fasting is surrendering all gratification concerning what you are fasting over to remain in tune with God the Father. So it's between you and the Father. See ya.